What if the firearm you've trusted for years is already circling the drain and no one had the guts to warn you? Some brands that were once household names are now barely hanging on, shedding dealers, shutting down plants, and leaving longtime gun owners holding the bag. In this video, we're diving into 13 gun manufacturers that are teetering on the edge of collapse and the hidden costs of owning one of their products today. It's not just about who is going under, it's about how fast they're disappearing. Stick around, especially for the final few. One of them still has a reputation for being rock solid, but that illusion may not last much longer. Let's jump right in. Number 13. Remington. Back in 2018, Remington was still moving hundreds of thousands of shotguns and bolt-action rifles every year. But by the time 2024 rolled around, after not one but two major bankruptcies, the company was barely recognizable. The brand now limps forward as Bryo Arms, trying to breathe life back into what used to be the oldest firearm maker in the United States. Classic models like the 870 pump shotgun and the 700 bolt-action rifle, once go-to choices for reliability, became plagued with sloppy finishes, extractor failures, and rust showing up on brand-new guns within weeks of purchase. The first bankruptcy hit in 2018, caused by ballooning debt and fading quality control. Then, in 2020, Remington got torn apart piece by piece in a second financial disaster. Owners were left wondering if their once trusty Remingtons were now just expensive paperweights. That same year, Bryo Arms rose from the ashes, launching a new facility in Georgia and claiming the quality was back on track. But reports of corrosion on fresh-off-the-line firearms haven't stopped. They keep tight-lipped about sales numbers, which makes it impossible to know how well they're truly doing. For folks who own older models from the Freedom Group era, the outlook is pretty bleak. Spare parts are getting harder to find, and resale values continue to plummet. What used to be the brand that outfitted America is now just fighting to stay in the game. Number 12. Colt Manufacturing. Once upon a time, Colt was the name in American firearms. They gave us legends like the 1911 pistol and the Python revolver. But by 2015, the writing was on the wall. Colt filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after years of financial decline. The company had leaned too heavily on government contracts and failed to keep pace with civilian demand. Before things really fell apart, customers were already complaining about subpar machining, misfeeds, and inconsistent build quality. The same brand that helped tame the American frontier was starting to lose its edge. A few years later, salvation arrived in the form of SECC Firearms Group, CZG, which acquired Colt in 2021. With fresh investment and access to modern manufacturing, things started to look up. Military contracts helped stabilize their bottom line, and new revolvers and handguns started hitting the market again. Colt even got rid of its debt, but old wounds take time to heal. Civilian production of AR-style rifles was halted back in 2019 due to market oversaturation, and though the acquisition saved Colt from extinction, the question remains, can a foreign parent company keep this American icon alive long-term? Number 11. Watchtower Firearms. In 2022, a fresh name entered the scene, promising cutting-edge designs and next-gen platforms. Watchtower Firearms gained early buzz for their Apache handgun, Bridger series rifles, and Raider carbines. They looked great on paper, but within just 3 years, by February of 2025, the company slammed straight into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That's not a slow decline, that's a full-on nosedive. Soaring inflation, high interest rates, and a shrinking firearms market created the perfect storm. On top of that, Watchtower had racked up unpaid taxes and vendor debts that spiraled out of control. Customer orders were delayed for months as internal systems collapsed. Even their 2023 acquisition of F1 Firearms couldn't keep the ship afloat. While the company claims it's still processing limited orders during reorganization, the long-term future looks bleak. Warranty service, parts availability, and customer support are all in limbo. For early believers in the brand, it's a rough lesson in how risky new firearm startups can be. Number 10. SECC Firearms. If you were shopping on a tight budget, chances are you ran across SECC models like the CPX-1 and the DVG. One red dot offered low-cost carry options that still managed to perform decently. By 2022, SECC had cracked the top 10 among domestic pistol manufacturers, selling over 113,000 handguns. But that success story unraveled fast. In March of 2025, SECC disappeared from the scene almost overnight. The trigger? Over $249,000 in unpaid taxes. By June, the company's assets were seized and auctioned off, effectively erasing SECC from the industry. Factory warranty support vanished instantly, leaving owners stuck without parts or repair options. Lawsuits from New York municipalities back in 2022 had already drained some of SECC's resources, but the speed of the final collapse caught nearly everyone off guard. Now anyone holding one of their pistols is dealing with a cold reality: no backup, no warranty, and no future resale value. That affordable option? It turned into a dead-end investment. Number 9. Jennings Arms. If you ever picked up one of these pistols, chances are you were chasing the absolute bottom of the price barrel. Jennings Arms picked up where Raven Arms left off, continuing the legacy of so-called Saturday night specials, pistols built on the cheap using Zamak alloy frames, and not exactly known for stellar performance. Their most recognized offerings, the HP 22 and HP 25, became infamous for reliability issues and low build quality. Then, in early 2025, it all came to a halt. Jennings Arms officially shut down all manufacturing and sales operations. There are no more pistols, no more frames, and absolutely zero factory support. You might still find a few replacement parts floating around with distributors, but that's about it. With the company gone, support has dried up completely. This shutdown closed the book on a firearm brand that always pushed the limits of safety and quality in the name of affordability. For folks who own one, the challenge now is finding spare parts before the last of the stock disappears because they're on their own. Number 8. Taurus. Taurus has always catered to value-focused shooters, offering semi-autos and revolvers that promise decent performance for the money. Pistols like the G3, the GX4, and the Judge earned strong market share for their features-to-cost ratio. But behind that budget-friendly facade, serious trouble was brewing. Between 2022 and 2023, Taurus production dropped by over 54%. That's not a slowdown, it's a full-on collapse. The company faced widespread quality control problems, with multiple recalls triggering alarm bells in the firearms community. The GX4 had a critical drop safety flaw that could cause unintentional discharges. Several revolver models chambered in .38 Special and .357 Magnum also experienced dangerous issues. These weren't minor bugs, they were life-threatening problems. Legal settlements worth millions have drained company resources and severely tarnished the brand's reputation. Taurus continues to crank out new handguns and bolt guns, but customer trust is wearing thin. Right now, Taurus is still alive, but just barely, and with every new complaint, more buyers walk away. Number 7. Parah USA. If you were into competition shooting or liked unique takes on the 1911 platform, chances are Parah USA caught your eye. They were well known for making double-stack versions of the classic 1911, offering higher capacity without sacrificing that familiar feel. For a while, Parah USA was a serious player among tactical and competition shooters. But in 2012, the brand got absorbed by Remington Outdoor Company. What could have been a chance to grow turned into a death sentence. By 2015, Parah USA had been completely merged into Remington's operations, its name and identity wiped off the map. This wasn't a shutdown due to poor sales. This was pure corporate assimilation. You might still come across aftermarket parts or used models, but there is no more official manufacturing, and factory support disappeared when the brand did. Owners of these pistols now have to rely on second-hand sources for repairs and upkeep. It's a classic case of a distinctive gunmaker lost in the shuffle of a bigger company's priorities. Number 6. Jennings Firearms. For years, Jennings focused on pushing out ultra-cheap, small-caliber pistols like the J-22, a prime example of everything wrong with the Saturday Night Special era. These pistols were built with the absolute minimum in terms of materials and safety features. And while they sold in the millions, the entire business was built on a foundation of sand. Legal trouble eventually caught up with Jennings and other so-called Ring of Fire manufacturers. Lawsuits over unsafe designs and accidental discharges piled up, and by the mid-1980s, Jennings couldn't keep the doors open. The company folded, and their designs were handed off to other struggling makers who didn't fare much better. Today, those pistols are widely seen as unsafe and unreliable. If you own one, don't expect to find parts or support, and don't expect to sell it either. The market for these guns has all but dried up, and many shooters simply don't want to deal with the risks. Number 5. Bryo Arms. If you ever bought a Bryo pistol, you probably didn't realize just how much risk came with that low price tag. Models like the Bryo 38 and the T380 were marketed as budget-friendly handguns, but they were plagued with major safety concerns. Bryo, another Ring of Fire outfit, had a reputation for churning out ultra-cheap firearms with very questionable design standards. In 2003, the company got hit with a crushing $24 million judgment in a product liability case involving a child accidentally shot due to known flaws in the gun's safety. That verdict bankrupted the company almost immediately. By the following year, Bryo was gone. Some of their tooling and designs were passed along to other low-tier manufacturers, but none of them gained real traction. States like California eventually stripped Bryo pistols of certification due to safety failures. Today, owners are stuck with firearms that are hard to maintain, impossible to get parts for, and carry a reputation for being outright dangerous. These weren't just bad buys, they're liabilities sitting in gun safes across America. Number 4. Davis Industries. Bargain-minded shooters who jumped on Davis Industries products often found out the hard way that low prices can come with a high cost. Their compact pistols and pocket derringers, like the P32 and P380, were known for cycling through parts faster than a range session. While the brand offered a range of calibers, one thing remained consistent. Key components had a bad habit of failing when you needed them most. Mounting legal trouble from injuries and product failures crushed the company's finances. Founder Jim Davis filed for bankruptcy in 1992 after a high-profile lawsuit, and by 1999, the company was effectively dead, ground down by constant legal heat. Davis Firearms today are essentially unsupported relics. With no factory service and no reliable repair options, these guns have become more of a liability than an asset. What was marketed as an affordable alternative turned into a never-ending frustration of jammed parts and broken promises. Number 3. Lorson Engineering. Back in 1993, an unsuspecting buyer could have walked out of a gun shop holding a pistol from what was at the time the top handgun manufacturer in the United States by volume. Lorson Engineering pumped out over 341,000 pistols in that year alone. Their ultra-low-cost models like the L22, L25, and L380 filled the shelves and the return bins. But volume couldn't make up for their poor build quality. Guns routinely broke down under basic use, leading to Lorson becoming one of the most frequently returned brands in the entire industry. Legal challenges soon followed. By 1996, they were forced into bankruptcy, and 2 years later, over 20 additional lawsuits had piled up. When the doors finally closed, the brand became a prime example of what happens when quantity overshadows craftsmanship. Owners today face the same problem: no service, no support, and no value. These handguns are now remembered as cautionary tales, not trusted tools. Number 2. Jimenez Arms. Buyers who picked up a Jimenez Arms pistol, whether the JA-22 or the JA-9, were usually looking for a budget piece, but they often ended up with a lemon. Carrying on the Ring of Fire legacy, these handguns were built with cheap zinc-based alloys and had a nasty habit of malfunctioning. Critics in the firearm world rank them consistently among the worst-performing brands. Then came the final blow. In February of 2020, the company entered Chapter 7 bankruptcy, triggered by multiple lawsuits filed by cities and anti-gun advocacy groups. The allegations? Major violations of federal law and ties to illegal gun distribution. Even when founder Paul Jimenez tried to revive the company under a new name, JA Industries, the federal government stepped in. The ATF pulled their manufacturing license in April of 2022, putting a permanent end to the brand. Warranty support is completely gone, and advocacy groups like Everytown for Gun Safety even bought up remaining inventory just to have it destroyed. Today, Jimenez owners are stuck with unsupported, low-value guns that the entire industry has walked away from. Number 1. Raven Arms. Those who still own a Raven Arms pistol are holding on to one of the original Saturday night specials that helped launch the entire concept. The P25 and MP25 became icons of the ultra-cheap handgun market, with millions sold across the country thanks to their rock-bottom pricing. But that affordability came at the cost of reliability and safety. Built with fragile materials and questionable designs, these 25 caliber pistols were notorious for jamming, breaking, or discharging unintentionally. Raven Arms ceased operations in November of 1991 after a fire destroyed their factory. The company never recovered. Founder George Jennings stepped away from the business, and the designs were later passed to Phoenix Arms. Today, Raven pistols are viewed more as safety hazards than functional firearms. There's no official service, no factory parts, and no resale market to speak of. These handguns have become dead weight in many collections, fitting for a company that helped start the race to the bottom of the firearms world. These brand collapses aren't just footnotes in the gun industry, they're caution signs for every buyer. A firearm is only as good as the company behind it. When that company vanishes, so does your support, your warranty, and often your resale value. For those looking to invest in a handgun or rifle, the lesson is clear. Do your homework, check the track record, and don't let price blind you to the long-term risks. Let me know if you want a short outro script or video title suggestions.